Good morning. Beginning yet a new week. Still no work, but what are we? We got March 23rd is the date, 8:49 a.m. And I was talking to a good friend of mine on the phone last night. We were talking about why the state of Washington has yet to put in a statewide mandatory uh, stay at home order because many other states have done this. And while I was driving out to get my coffee this morning, I heard on the radio that the governor has announced that he is thinking about instituting such an order. I recall the governor saying the same thing prior to his decision to shut down all the schools, that he was thinking about it. And I remember in my conversation with my friend last night commenting that I felt pretty sure that Governor Inslee was going to institute this kind of a thing. He's in my impression of him is that he's the type of person who definitely wants to be liked and he wants to be seen to do the right thing. While he was running his presidential campaign, it seemed like his biggest sales point for himself was, look at me, everyone, I hate Donald Trump. You know, I remember seeing him in a debate where he was asked what the greatest threat to national security was in his perception, and his perception was without hesitation to say that it was Donald Trump. And I've heard him say other things too. It just seems like that's a certain sentiment into which he tried to tap that he believed would give him enough popular support to earn him the nomination within the Democratic Party. And that's, to me, that comes off as pretty cheap. But I digress. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in this governor to act rationally. I think that he's doing what he thinks people want him to do. And now with a number of states and a number of localities within the state of Washington, such as Everett. Everett is one that I'm sure the mayor, I read, is instituting a stay-at-home order in Everett. And reading some of the governor's tweets, saying that he was aware that people got together in large crowds over the weekend and this has to be stopped, and etc. So now with the announcement that he is thinking about instituting a stay-at-home order, I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that's going to happen. I think probably sometime today. I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope that that doesn't happen because, man, there are people out there saying that the overall reaction to what's going on with COVID-19 is an enormous overreaction. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Of course, it needs to be taken seriously, but when does it become too much? When does it become too much? Some people are out there saying that we need to encourage healthy people, people who are at an age in their lives and who are of a sufficiently healthy status, that we want them out there potentially contracting the virus if they're young enough and healthy enough that they're essentially sure to survive it after just a couple days of not feeling well. Because I don't know, I didn't get the term, something like group immunity or herd immunity, I think it is, herd immunity. Hey, I'm not advocating this, but I am saying that there's people out there who are way smarter than I am and who are way more learned and educated in medical issues than I am, who are saying that the isolating of people, especially younger and healthy people, is counterproductive to the aim of pushing back against this. Now, look, I don't know. I personally have no idea what the correct method for dealing with this is. Other people, other institutions, they're the ones that are out there saying that. The president himself has these sort of 15 days to stop the virus. There's a list of guidelines, including hygiene suggestions, including social distancing, etc. Now, I do think it's worth pointing out also that while I was doing a Google search to pick up the daily figures preparing for this broadcast, I noticed on Google's homepage the 5 steps of what each person can do to stop the spread of the virus was not what was issued by our own country's Center for Disease Control or the White House issuance of the 15 days and the guidelines under that. Rather, it was issued by the World Health Organization. I touched on the World Health Organization briefly when I came on live yesterday, and I referenced a story which essentially accused the World Health Organization, which is part of the United Nations, of spreading Chinese propaganda. The propaganda being that they were trying to really downplay the seriousness of the virus, that the World Health Organization, and specifically its Director General, Dr. Tedros, and I couldn't pronounce his name, and I still haven't gotten any further than just Tedros. The man's from Ethiopia, and in 2017, in May of 2017, he was elected as the Director General of the World Health Organization. And I've continued to try to flesh out, just in terms of my own understanding, what this guy's connection with China is. And I came across some facts and figures to indicate essentially that Ethiopia, first of all, is the benefactor of the largest investment from China. There are those within certain media spheres who refer to the World Health Organization as being a China groveling institution with an extremely Marxist past, because the current Director General was a member of a very Marxist government in Ethiopia, and he's now the Director General of the World Health Organization. And I have some information here dating all the way back to shortly after this individual was elected to his position within the organization, which essentially says the World Health Organization really needs to clean up its act, and there's a lot of corruption. I have stories that I printed out that I'm going to share a little bit of with you as this broadcast goes on. I'm going to try to keep things a little bit more abbreviated today, although who knows, these are very stream of consciousness rants that I'm posting and broadcasting. So first of all, let's get going with just the latest figures for the disease. 1 second. Okay, so this is United States coronavirus cases. We'll start nationally today, as opposed to starting with the state and local figures. As of today, in the United States, there are 39,371 cases, 467 deaths. I'm going to repeat those numbers. In the United States, 39,371 cases and 467 deaths. Probably for tomorrow's broadcast, I'm going to print out the figures for the H1N1. I believe that I have stated here that by mid-March 10 years ago, we had something on the order of 12,000 deaths. 12,000 deaths, not 12,000 cases, 12,000 deaths from the H1N1 flu in 2010. I'm going to see if I can get those numbers. I don't want to be just talking out of my ass here, but we have 467 right now, as compared with 12,000. Just to put that in context. Okay, so let's look at the local figures. Okay. COVID-19 in the state of Washington, 1,996 cases in the state of Washington as of today's date, and 95 deaths in the state of Washington. Breaking it down again by the top 3 worst affected counties, King County remains by far the county with the most cases, 1,040 deaths in King County alone. That's over half of all cases in Washington concentrated in one county, King County. And for those of you watching who are not familiar with the Western Washington geography, King County is the county that has Seattle in it. Snohomish County comes in at number 2 with 480, and at Pierce County we have broken 100. We are now at 107 positive and confirmed cases, and still only at 1 fatality in Pierce County, where I live. So there's the figures where that's concerned. The information I have breaks it down. It looks like the age group that is the most badly affected is the 80 plus. 50% of deaths are people who are over the age of 80. And the age group that has the highest percentage of confirmed cases is the 50 to 59 age group. So there was a large press availability at the White House last night. These things have become a daily occurrence. There will be another one later today. The president himself spoke, followed by members of the task force, the coronavirus task force, which is being led by Vice President Pence. And there were some announcements that I thought were pretty momentous. First of all, the states of New York, and by the way, New York's getting the numbers in New York are just skyrocketing. Okay, they're adding something like 5,000 to 6,000 new cases per day. I think I have those numbers printed out, but I mean the number of cases in the state of New York is just staggering. Now, with New York City being there, the concentration and density of the population, I'm not surprised. All right, I'm not surprised at all. But the states of New York, California, and my home state of Washington have all been declared major disaster areas, and the National Guard has been put on Title 32. Now, I made some effort to figure out what this meant, because in this press conference at the White House last night, that term was mentioned, but there was not a whole lot of information given as to exactly what that means. So let's see what I can offer. Okay. I really need to organize my notes a little better. I can't figure out where I put this. Essentially, from what I've read, Title 32 just means it's fully activated the National Guard and handed over leadership of the National Guard to the respective states. So there are those who believe that Title 32 and just granting more power and more authority to the National Guard automatically translates as a prelude to martial law. I tend to think that that's somewhat unlikely. I am not anticipating that happening at all. But again, it does appear very likely to me that Governor Inslee is going to be issuing a statewide stay-at-home order. You know, with the number of states, including Delaware, including Oregon, including Louisiana. I have a friend in Louisiana, a friend from back in the 90s, Emily. Hello, Emily, if you're seeing this. Hope everything's going all right for you. But Louisiana has instituted one of these statewide orders. It was a surprise to me that the governor didn't jump on this more quickly, but now I think he's probably feeling the pressure, peer pressure, let's call it, to follow suit and to issue one of these orders here in Washington. And my God, I hope not. My God, I hope not, because that would make everything 10 times worse in terms of the impact this is having on people's lives. I don't want to bring a lot of focus on my own life. I've been sort of updating everybody with respect to what I've been trying to do to stay active and to stay busy and to stay productive. But you know something? Look, in order to maintain a healthy balance within my own life, I have come to rely on a number of things. I've come to rely on my job. of course, and not just for income, but for a sense of purpose. I've also come to rely on my routine, which is, getting up, going to the gym, etc. In sort of fitting all the various facets of my life into a structure that I can oversee and maintain. Also, I have come to rely on my friends to a certain degree, um, to maintain a healthy state of mind and a healthy uh, prospect in life. And it was working very well. It was working very well. And those things all are unavailable to me at this point. And I imagine that a lot of other people, not just financially, but a lot of other people also rely on having a routine and having a structure in their lives so that they can remain balanced, healthy, and happy. So the stay-at-home order, even though it hasn't really been made mandatory in Washington yet, although it's being strongly, strongly urged, uh, this is having a very damaging effect on people in general. And I can speak just from my own experience, into which I don't want to go very deeply at all. I just, just for the sake of being able to put perspective on it, people rely on having a structure and having something to do with themselves, a target to which and upon which they can focus their energy and their intellect and their creativity and just who they are. Focus it on a project, on a goal, on a purpose. This having this taken from us is going to, especially as the days turn into weeks and however long this may last, could have an extremely damaging effect on people, on people's morale, and on people's lives in general. This has never happened before. We've never seen anything like this before. So once it's over, what is the recovery from it going to look like? I'm really curious to see how that pans out. I still believe that this is not nearly as scary a thing as the reaction to it makes it appear to be. I really don't think that I think that the reaction to this is enormously overstated, dangerously so in some cases. And we're just going to see. We're going to see exactly how this affects people. We're going to see exactly how these numbers, in terms of confirmed cases, in terms of fatalities, we're going to watch the trend of this and see exactly what happens. I have a friend of mine who, last I checked, was still stuck in Ecuador. And part of the press availability at the White House last night did address people who were abroad and unable to get home. In fact, one of them was, I believe, in Peru, and another one was, I think, I don't remember. I want to say it was in some Central American country. We're just going to see how that shakes out. I really wished for my friends, Addie and Justin and Oswaldo, to be able to come back safely to the United States, come home without an issue. I really hope that that's a situation that gets ameliorated quickly, easily, and safely for all concerned. So with that, I'm going to just, let's just say I'm going to make a plan to do another broadcast later today, because as I said, I anticipate some point today Governor Inslee will institute a statewide stay-at-home order. If that should happen, I'll come back on and offer some opinions and thoughts about that. So for now, be good to each other.